and I will share the video of this lecture as well with you. Okay, first thing first, what is strategic management? Strategic management can be defined as the art and science of formulating, implementing, and evaluating cross-functional decisions that enable an organization to achieve its objective. It's very much clear that every organization, every head of organization wants to achieve its objectives and its targets. It is very well understood thing. Every organization wants to achieve the targets and the goals. It's the sets and the objectives are being stated clearly, and not to achieve the goals, but the main thing is that achieving those goals, achieving those targets, nobody wants to get obstacles in the way. Nobody wants to get hurdles in the way. So obviously obstacles and hurdles are always there in any kind of activities. So hurdles or obstacles, where do they come from? They come from the market. They come from the environment. They come from the atmosphere where you are working in. Just let think that if you are building a house, if you are building a house, so it's impossible that you may not find a hurdle, obstacle. Sometimes you may need the money, but you don't have it. Sometimes you may need the people or workers, but you don't have it. Sometimes you may need some kind of a material, but you don't have it. So that's how so many times you are faced with the hurdles and obstacles. Obviously, you want to minimize these kind of interruptions. So how these hurdles, obstacles, or interruption be eliminated? It can be eliminated if you plan well. If you plan well. So all those plans you are making to minimize these kind of hurdles, obstacles, threats, that kind of plans are called actually strategies. And obviously, there is no one strategy to cope up with the situation. Definitely, there would be some set of strategies, because you cannot you cannot compete, or you cannot eliminate all the hurdles, all the obstacles with one strategy, with one plan. You might be having a set of plans. You might be having a set of strategies. So if all those set of strategies are there, which can make your work easy for you, which can take your target easy for you, so all those strategies shouldn't be should be aligned, should be adjusted with each other. Example, just take the example what I said, that if you're making home, you need material to be delivered in time. You need all the people and worker present in time. You need all the resources, all the finances should be available with you. And for all those plans or all those requirements, you need different kind of plans. And you don't want let any kind of hurdle or obstacles in the midway. But all the strategies and all the plans, plan for the finances, plan for the people, plan for the raw material, plan for anything else, they must be aligned. They must be adjusted with each other. It means that you have make a policy, or you have make a strategy to get finances. You have collected the finances. You have arranged the funds. But on the other way, the material is not available in the bazaar or in the market. It means that there is some kind of a mismatch between the strategies. Or you have established some connection to avail some materials, and you have availed it. You have make your connection with the material supplier, but in that way you become short with the finance. So it means that on one way you are planning for the material, but you are letting go the plan for the finances. But in the other way, or in the other example, you are making plan to arrange finance, but on the other side, the material is not available in the market. You have forgotten that, or you are not thinking of that. So policy for the finance of arrangement, policy for the material arrangement, and all kind of policy, they must be aligned with each other, that the finances, material, workers, labor, they all come up to you in the same time, on the required time. So this actually, the system, the mechanism is actually called strategic management. Keeping this mechanism to be established in a scientific way, keeping this mechanism to be established in the wise way. So this kind of arrangement, this kind of management is called strategic management. So now think any organization also needs finances, organization also needs material, supplies, the resources, people, workers. So then obviously, and the organization is continuously being communicated with the market, because purchasing raw material, purchasing machinery, technology, purchasing labor, it is not the job of the one day. It is being happening at the every day. It is being happening daily. You need finance. You need finance not for the one day. You need finance continuously for your operations. So it means that it would not be prudent to have or to make just one plan at the initial time and just go for it. You need to have plan on the daily basis, and on the daily basis all the plans should be aligned strategically, or should be adjusted with each other systematically. So it means that if I am making plan and policies on the daily basis, I am looking after the resources, I'm looking after of the finances, I'm looking for the people workers, I'm looking for the marketing policies and plan, I'm looking for the production and engineering plans. All the plans are being practiced on the daily basis, and on the daily basis you need to align all the plan with each other, because you cannot let anyone go detract with your objective, because any one manager of your organization, if it is practicing some kind of activities which is not aligned with your organization, so that manager would be harming your organization. So you will be obviously requiring from that manager that all his activities, all his policies, and all what job he's doing, all the job he's doing, they must obviously serve organization, not himself. So obviously you're not having only one manager, might be having some a bunch of managers. So all the managers would be working for the organization. All the managers would be creating plans for one organization. All the manager and workers would be having activities or would practice activities not for themselves, but for one organization and main objective of the organization. So it is need that the all workers, all employees, all managers, they must be working in line. They must be working in one direction, and you need to have some kind of a set of policies, set of strategies. So any one of you if want to ask that, sir, what is the difference between the strategy and plan? Plan is a general term. It means that if you want to build uh, a house, if you want to build a house, you will make a plan that I will collect the finances from here. then I will arrange the resources from this much of an amount, and I will take a land from. So this is called a plan. But hurdles would be there, obstacles would be there, because if you go for for purchasing a land, you will find so much obstacles. So if you plan to deal with those obstacles, then this plan become strategy, because you will be dealing with the landowner, you will be dealing so many people, which would not be talking according to your requirement. So for dealing those people, you need some other kind of a special plan. So that is special plan which is made for tackling hurdles, which is made for minimizing obstacles, which is made for the better communication with the people. So that plan becomes a strategy. You can ask any question anytime in the chat box. I can answer meanwhile in lecture. So this is actually main difference of the plan and strategies. Plan is general plan, which may be not concerned with the obstacles and hurdles. But when you are thinking of the people you are dealing with, when you are thinking with the obstacles and hurdles, or some kind of problems in the way, so you make special plans to deal with those problems, with deals with those obstacles, and with deals with those hurdles. So that plans become the strategy, and all the strategies should be aligned with each other. This is very much important. All those strategies, obviously every strategy should not be taken as a single strategy, because all the strategies are working for one big organization. So all the strategies should come up with the aligned mechanism. So that mechanism is actually is called strategic management. So here on the screen you are seeing that strategic management can be defined as this art and science of formulating, implementing, and evaluating cross-functional decisions. So these are the cross-functional decisions you are making. Policies, you are making a marketing plan, but with the consideration of the finances. You are making financial plan, but with the consideration of the production and marketing. So these production and marketing, productions, marketing, finances, raw material. So all these are called functions, and you are aligning all those functions. You are making cross functional decisions, because you are taking you are making one decisions or one policy with the consideration of the other function. You are making policy for the finance, but with the consideration of the marketing issues. You are making policy for the marketing, but with the consideration of the financial resources. You are making plan for the finances, but with the consideration of the marketing needs and as well as the production needs. So it means that you are making cross-functional decisions. And those cross-functional decisions, obviously, there are three stages. One is formulating stage. How would you plan? Then the implementation stage. How would you implement? And the last one is evaluation. How would you evaluate that? Because all the plans should not be working according to your requirement. If your strategy, if your plan is not working according to your requirement, you need to change it. So that's how that a complete mechanism where you formulate a strategy, where you implement it, and after that you evaluate it, that either that policy is working for you or not accordingly. And all the policies are cross-functional decisions or cross-functional policies, and that enable an organization to achieve its objective. Now you can ask any question regarding these statements. If you do have question, I would answer. If you do not have a question, I would go ahead. Meanwhile, I admitting all other students as well. Feel free by asking questions. आप जो है माइक ऑन करके भी क्वेश्चन कर सकते हैं, चैट बॉक्स में भी क्वेश्चन कर सकते हैं. It's not a big deal. Okay, now strategic management. Again, As this definition implies, the strategic management focuses on the integrating management, marketing, finance, accounting, production, operation, research and development, and information system uh, 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 achieve the organization success. These all are common functional areas of any organization. You will find management in every organization. You will find marketing in any organization. You will find finance and accounting sections. You will find production and operation function. You will find research and development. So all these functions are there. And I told you that cross-functional decisions here. You are making a policy for one function, but with consideration of other functions requirement as well. So all these functional areas do work for one organization, and all of them need one concrete strategic management mechanism. So that's how this strategic management does work. Now, I don't know that all of you are taking it clearly, or if you do have any problem, or if you do have any kind of questions, because not asking question obviously means two type of people. Either you are very clear about everything, or not even a single word is clear to you. In these two extreme condition, there is no any question. Okay, I would go further because you are a project student. So obviously, I would be taking some sort of example from the project sides as well. But before that, I have mentioned three kind of uh, phases in the strategic management process. One is formulation, one is implementation, and one is evaluation. So what are these? Strategic formulation issues includes deciding what new business to enter, what business to abandon, what to allocate resources, whether to expand operations or diversify, whether to enter into international market, whether to merge or form a joint venture, or and how to avoid the hostile takeover. So all these are big decisions. All these are big decisions, and it is not only these kind of decisions are there, because you may find many more decision in this formulation stage. You want to build a new building for your organization. You want to take new lands for your business, and you want to take a bunch of new employees for your organization. So obviously it needs to come up with the some kind of clear thought that what you want to do. So that becomes actually the basics of the strategy formulation stage. So here you need to formulate some kind of a strategy, some kind of a policy, some kind of a plan to allocate resources, to diversify your product, to get enter into the international market, to have some joint venture with the other competitive firms, or to avoid the hostile takeover, because obviously many of these small firms and weak firms are having this kind of a problem, because the bigger and larger firms take over that small firms by purchasing, or by getting 50% above share of that small firm. So these are the problems, these are the hurdles. So if you are very clear about your objective, because obviously all these are called objectives: to allocate resources, to have the diversification in the product, to have enter into the market. So all these objectives, you need to formulate a strategy. So this is the first step, to formulate the strategy. But once you have formulated a strategy, then you have to implement it. What is implementation of strategy? It requires the firm to establish annual objectives. Obviously, this is main course of material that you would be studying in this subject, how the strategies are implemented, because they need to have clear objectives. They may be annual, they may be quarter, they may be semi-annual, but you have it. You have the objectives or clear goal. You need to devise policies. You need to motivate employees. You need to allocate resources accordingly. And obviously, strategy implementation include developing a strategy, supportive culture, creating an effective organization structure, redirecting marketing efforts, preparing budgets, developing and utilizing information system, and linking the employees' compensation to organization performance. So all these kind of decisions are actually the strategy implementation stage. Because what are you doing? You are doing all these activities for having one goal of organization, one bigger goal. You are allocating resources accordingly because you want to get your target achieved. You are making a supportive culture in organization because you want that works and the jobs and the task are are being accomplished in better way. You want to create an effective organization structure. In a structure, obviously the building comes there, the resources, the outlay, the facility capacity, all these kind of organizational needs come in the organizational culture structure. So you need to have ideal organization structure that would be very accommodative, that would be very convenient for your day-to-day operations. You need to redirect your marketing efforts. You need to prepare budgets again and again. You need to develop an utilization information system day by day. So it need to look into on the daily basis. So this is what we call a strategy implementation and evaluation. And definitely, if you have implemented some kind of a policy, you need to look into that either that policy did work for you or not. If your policy and if your decision that is not giving you the giving you a desired outcome, it means that it should be revised, it should be rechecked where the problems are coming in. So that's how you can, when particular strategy is not working well, strategy evaluation is the primary means for the obtaining and formulation. Okay, G, if you want to ask any question, you can again ask in the chat box. Then now I will be I would be some I will be putting light according to the project, because you are the student of the projects. So obviously some of you would be asking that how this strategic management is important for the project type of organization. So every active objective, goal and outcome need at least one project. Project is not though that you have a definition, clear definition of the project, that the project is a time bound activity because it starts and ends with the predefined time, and this is a complex of the activities. But if you take any task given to any employee of the organization, so that special task which is to be accomplished within some time, so it become a project for that employee, or the employee can take that task as a project. Let's say if I'm working in a Abbasin University, so Abbasin University is not a big project kind of organization, but some kind of a task is given to me that Mr. Zishan, this thing you have to do till that particular day. So it means that I'm given the task, I'm given clear targets, and I'm given the time period. So I can take my task as project. So I can make a bigger plan to meet those targets. Like you have read many of the basic document in the project, you uh, 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 you are very well aware about the project charter, organizational structure report, and so many other reports are there. So you can take these reports you can make these kind of reports for your special task, what is being given to you to do within the time. So the project must deliver on the objectives. Definitely, if you think that your task is some sort of project, so what project demands? Project demands that it should be deliver on the objectives. For each objective, you need to able to say that if you do good job of delivering all its projects, you will achieve the objectives. If you can't say that, you need to look at the project mix and identify your gaps. Projects shouldn't overlap or be redundant. If you see that, seriously consider whether you actually need that project. Maybe that efforts can be better spent elsewhere. You have to be prepared to move or to reduce the scope of project. Equally, make sure that you don't have projects within or between objectives that overlap in scope, essentially duplicating work. I think all these terms are very well known to you. And why I'm taking this simple organizational task as a project, because again, think of the project, think of that strategic mechanism definition I've told you, that you want to minimize your risks, you want to minimize your hurdles and threats. So you're making plans for that. So every project is also embedded with the risk and threats. And if you do plan, or if you make plan to eliminate those threats, if you want to have some kind of a plans to eliminate those kind of obstacles and hurdles, so it means that you are taking this strategic mechanism into your project. Project must have a clear link to one or more objectives. Definitely. Let me admit some other students as well. Okay. Note that the once in a while you might find that you have a project that clearly demonstrates strategic value but doesn't align to specific objectives. It means that you may have some kind of a clear policy and clear strategy that from this particular kind of policy I have made, and I can tackle with the labor because I am having some threats from the labor union. And to tackle with the labor union, you have made a plan, you have made a policy, and you have made a strategy that how would that labor union be tackled out. But you have to think that that kind of a policy what you are making to tackle with the labor union, that policy must be aligned with the organization's objectives. It should not be like that you are making happy the labor union, but that happiness of the labor union is threatening the organization's goals. So that's why you need to have some kind of alignment of the policies. That can be a sign that you need to revisit your objectives and make sure that themselves give you the right coverage. Mute all. And okay, still I'm not having any questions, so it might be good for me. Okay, now make sure your projects actually happen. Every project must be realistically resourced. Obviously, you need to have some kind of resources, you need to have money, you need to have skillful people, you need to have many of the technologies and machinery. So all these well resourced kind of a project is very much good to get their objectives systematically. Time, money, skills, there are never enough to go around. Obviously, there's no limit for that, and they are probably the most important element of the actually delivering on the project. It means that you must have estimated the project needs and budgeted for the project. It was simply, if you have made the plan for time, if you have made the plan for money and funds, and if you have made the plan for the skills, if you have made the plans, then obviously you have estimated all project needs. And if you have estimated all project needs, obviously money is definitely linked with that. If you have established, or if you have decided that how much amount of skills and how much amount of machinery and technology you will be needing, then definitely you have concluded that this much of amount of money should we have. So you have budgeted for the project as well. The project timeline must be aligned with your objectives, definitely. Project timelines, as I said, that if you are given some kind of a project from your bigger organization, then obviously organization must have some kind of an objective. But if you plan your project time which is not aligned with the organizational objectives, so obviously you would not be a good manager. So your objectives, that must be aligned with the bigger objective of your organization. Every project must have an owner, obviously. Someone, there must be someone who take responsibility of that project. Sometime project manager by himself becoming an owner of the project. So that's why owner mean here, there must be a person to whom the project would be delivering some outputs. Your bigger organization would be the owner of the project. If that bigger organization has given you the project. And sometime I said that project manager by himself become the owner of the project. He has started it. Because owner actually knows about the objectives behind the project. Top operational projects getting into your strategic plan and vice versa. Now think of that the top operational projects getting into your strategic plan and vice versa. You want to keep your strategic plan focused. This means that you need to avoid getting operational projects and activities creep into the plan. It means that if some task is given to you and you have taken that as a project, so a bigger organization may be having some other functional areas as well. But other functional areas, if they are making some kind of cross connection with your project, so that may become a problem for you. So try to avoid cross functional, which are the daily type of routine or prototype working that are getting across with your project that has been given to you. So please avoid to get these things overlapped. You must be focused. You must be clearly focus on your project. You can ask any question anytime, because I mostly very keen and very I like the questions if you ask meanwhile. Okay, make sure you stay on the top of the things. It means that govern your project strategically. It's very simple thing that one thing that after some time, because Zoom session is having 40 minutes time for one slot, so that 40 minutes are coming to end. If you find I'm turned off, it means that Zoom time has been expired. So I would be immediately getting into again. So don't be away. Don't get away from the screen. If this lecture turns off suddenly, it means that Zoom session has been ended. Because Zoom lecture is having some limited time of the 40 minutes. So if I get disconnected, so I would be again reconnected immediately. So all of you are requested not to go away. Okay. After that, how can you get on top of all things? Govern your project strategically, because you need to have a recording. Yes, the recording has started, and this recording would be obviously available to you in the next time, inshallah. Okay. Now, the three things, if you remember: strategic formulation, strategic implementation, and strategy evaluation. So, what these three phases, in fact, are comprising with, when we are talking about the strategic management process. So, in strategic management process, obviously, are embedded with these three stages. One is a formulation phase, one is implementation phase, and one is evaluation phase. I have told you earlier. So, what comes under formulation of a strategy? Formulation of strategy comprises to establish vision and mission. We will be taking this vision and mission in detail in the second chapter. Then the external and opportunities and threats, analysis of external opportunities and threats. We would be taking this in the chapter number 3. Then the internal strategic strengths and internal strengths and weaknesses. This would be learned in this chapter number 4. Long-term objectives. This is also in the chapter number 4. 5. Alternative strategies and strategy selection. So then we will go further on in this chapter number 6 and 7. So all these actually are the key things to be learned under strategy formulation. All these things would tell us that how and what kind of issues should be taken into consideration while formulating strategies. You can formulate a strategy very well if you are given some clear vision statement and mission statement, if you are well aware of the internal opportunities and threats, if you are well aware of internal strengths and weaknesses, if you have clear long-term objectives, you have set of alternative strategies, and you know the process of selection between the strategies. So if you know it, then you can formulate strategy. And strategy implementation stage, you need to have clear objectives, you need to have some policies, you need to have some sort of a mechanism of implying motivations, and you are blessed with the resources and better resource allocation. If you do have, then you can implement your strategy very well. And after that, evaluation. You can evaluate your strategy by internal review, by external review, by performance measurement, and with corrective actions. So all these kind of issues we will be learning into this strategic management. So uh, as I said that each of them uh, is having in different chapters. So obviously I cannot put a complete and thorough light to each of them in one time. Obviously, in chapter number 2, when we'll be starting chapter number 2, we will be discussing the vision and mission with detail. So similarly, all of these issues will be taken into sight according to the chapter. Okay, ji. What is integrating intuition and analysis? Intuition क्या है? Analysis किसे कहते हैं? What is intuition? What is analysis? Edward Deming once said, in God we trust, all other bring data. There is a say of Edward Deming. What does it mean? It means that there is a God on which we may have blind trust. But other than God, we cannot blindly trust to anyone, because all things are in data. All the things are in data. Quantification. Let me tell you one thing, that because you are the students of management. In management and social sciences, if you want to learn terms and how these terms work there, so just keep in mind that all the issues can be quantified. And if you know that all terms and terminologies in the sciences, all kind of sciences, they can be quantified. If you know that how they are quantified, then you can better analyze everything. Just let think are this subject strategic management. If some of you that, sir, how strategy can be quantified? So strategy can be quantified, but you just only to know the process that how these strategies are quantified. We can make a quantification of that. Okay, what is quantification and what mean by quantified? It means that we can take all the issues in numbers. Someone says that, sir, employees are not happy in organization. So how would one come up to the conclusion that employees are not happy? They would see their faces? No. They would make some kind of a parameter, numerical parameter. Then after that, he will be getting data from the employees, and that data will show you that employees are unhappy. On the other way, the happiness and dishappiness is not a matter to be quantified. But a good manager is that one which can quantify anything, everything. So here the Edward Deming said that the God, on the God we can trust blindly, but the all others bring data. The strategic management process can be described as one objective, logical, systematic approach of making major decisions in an organization. And one thing again, all the decisions that are taken in place, they based on the data. They based on the they are based on the mathematical figures, in the sense that the strategic management process is an attempt both to duplicate what goes on in the mind of the brilliant, intuitive person who knows the business and to couple with the analysis. Now, what this slide is telling us, it's the slide. This slide is telling us that we are given the objectives, we are given the logical and systematic approach, we are given the targets, and we are given the resources, we are given the people, and people with the different minds. Then how you can come up with the conclusion that the people are working for your objectives? So you need data over there, that after every month, after every quarter, after every year, you can quantify, you can calculate that the all managers, all employees are working accordingly, working on your track. So this is a complete set of mechanism where you can do it only by quantification, only by quantification. After a year, you will call a manager that come here and tell me that are we approaching to our targets or not. So he will present you on the PPT slides. Yes, sir, we are on the track because this much of percentage is that, this much of percentage is this. So obviously he would be explaining all the thing in the percentages and the figures. So that's how you can come up to the conclusion that yes, we are up to the line. So one PPT presentation that manager is giving to you, you have decided that you are on the track or you're not on the track. So that's how this means that the quantification is very much necessary. So that's how the intuitions, the thoughts, the mentalities, the approaches, what your managers, what your employees working in, they can be analyzed if they are quantified well. Okay, you can ask any question anytime. Now, key terms in strategic management. What are these key terms? Competitive advantage, and I would be explaining these terms one by one. What we mean by competitive advantage? Competitive advantage means anything that firm does especially well compared to the rival firms in a particular and all stakeholders in general. A firm must strive to achieve sustained competitive advantage. by these two things. What is comparative advantage? First, I will explain. You are in the market and you are not alone. You are in the market in competition. There are many other firms which are such alike from you, just sort of few, and they are also working in the market. They're also getting profits and they're also getting revenues from the same market where you're working in. And if you're in a big competition, so how would you be leading, or you will be uh, defeating those firms in the competition if you have some kind of a competitive advantage, if you have something special in your organization which is not with the other firms. So that kind of a special thing, that kind of a special characteristics which your organization uh, 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 do have, which is not with other organizations. So that's become a competitive advantage. And that competitive advantage can be sustained by continually adopting changes in external trends and events and internal capabilities, competencies, and resources, and effectively formulating, implementing, and evaluating strategies that capitalize upon those factors. So it says that you can be having a competitive advantage by two things. One thing is the number one, that you you may have some kind of special resources. Either you may have some good amount of money, either you may have some good skills in your labor, or and that kind of skills which are not with the other organizations. So that's why if you think that in organization there is a training and development kind of issue in the organization, because training and development of employee makes your employee better than your competitors. So anything which can be created by your own in your resources, that makes a competitive advantage for you. Similarly, there are some events in the market that is affecting your organization, but if you have a good mechanism uh, uh, to tackle those problems of the market, because government changes, so with the change of the government many things changes. If prices are not favorable to you, so that is again a risk and threat. So if in the market any kind of threat, any kind of problems that coming to you to make you harm, but if you have a good mechanism to tackle those problems in the market, it means that you are having a competitive advantage, because you can tackle the problem of the market better than the other firms. So anything which is with you and which make you better than the other firms, it is called a competitive advantage. And obviously if you have a complete strategic management process applied in your organization, so it makes again make your firm competitive advantage as compared to the other firms in the market. So strategic management, so first thing is to have competitive advantage in any way. In any way, let's say if some manager is with me with the special kind of a skill, and that skill is not presented in the market anywhere, so that becomes a competitive advantage of mine. Or my products has some kind of a feature that any other competitive product doesn't have, it means that this is a competitive advantage for me. So any kind of a special thing with me which is not available to the other competitive firms become a competitive advantage. You can ask any question anytime. Then the next thing is strategists. Who will make strategies? The strategist will make a strategy. The people, the managers, what do? They would gather information, they would analyze information, and they would organize information. Because if you have noticed that in that, where is this? Yes, all other brings data. So that data, obviously, where that data comes from, the data comes from the information. And when the data is gathered, then data is analyzed, that data is organized. So obviously there are some people in your organization who is having this particular job. So that's why those managers has to be very qualified. Those managers have to be very trained for this particular job, to gather data, to analyze data, and to organize data. Then the vision and mission. I have told you that vision and mission, we have a second chapter in detail, but for the sake of only definition, I would say that what is vision statement, what is mission statement. Vision statement is developing a vision statement is often considered the first step in strategic planning, proceeding, even development, and a mission statement. And mission statements are enduring statement of the purpose that distinguish one business from other similar firms. A mission statement identify the scope of a firm's operations in the product and market terms. I would not be explaining in detail right now because I am having a complete second chapter on that. And in second chapter, I will be explaining this vision statement and mission statement in detail. But here I've just only written some kind of 2 lines or couple of lines here. So I'm not explaining these vision and mission right now. I'll be explaining the chapter number 2. Then internal and external, internal opportunities and threats, and internal strengths and weaknesses. External opportunities and threats, and internal strengths and weaknesses. So there are two views. You have heard about the SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And if any organization wants to make some good document for the strategic mechanism or strategic management, so it must go through the SWOT analysis, because without SWOT analysis, strategy mechanism cannot be taken place. So SWOT analysis obviously comprises the 4 basic issues. One is strengths, then the weaknesses, and strengths and weaknesses are the internal matter of the organization. So these are called internal strengths and weaknesses, because if you're strong, then obviously you will be strong internally. You must be having some kind of a good muscles. And if you're weak, then again the weakness of the firm is within the firm. You might be having weak muscles. So that is actually the internal matters, to be having a strong and to be having the weakness. And the opportunities and threats, they are external forces which can affect you in good terms or in bad terms. If external forces are making some good changes for me, so that become an opportunity. Now, what are the external forces? So I told you that chapter number 3 and 4. Chapter number 3, I would be explaining these external forces, and chapter number 4, I would be explaining the internal forces. So I will be explaining in detail in those chapters. But there are two views. One is industry organization view, another is resource-based view. IO view, the IO approach, industry organization approach. I think some people are coming. No. Okay. IO view or IO approach, industry organization approach, thinks that the external forces are the main puller of the decisions and directions. It means that the changes coming in the market externally, these are the basic forces which makes organizations better off or worse off. But on the other way, resource-based approach or resource-based view emphasizes on the internal forces, on your strength and weakness. that it is a matter of your strength. If you're strong enough, you can avail opportunity. If you're strong enough, you can tackle the threat. If you're weak, you cannot avail this opportunity. And if you're weak, you cannot tackle the threat. So personally, on if my thinking is concerned, I would go for the RBV. I would go for the resource-based view, because external forces would provide you the opportunities and would uh, uh, give you the threats only. It is you who would take advantage of those opportunities or make some kind of a effort to tackle with the threat. But if you're not strong, you can't do anything. So that's why resource based view is more strong view, uh, uh, so far as my personal thing is concerned. These are the external opportunities and threats. I would be explaining obviously all these things in chapter number 3. I would not be detailing there. So again, I'll be skipping this slide because all these external factors which can affect directly or indirectly, this is being explained in detail in chapter number 3. These are again external opportunity and threats. Chapter number 3 is complete chapter for explaining these external and internal strengths and weakness. So for internal strengths and weakness, chapter number 4 is there, and I would not be explaining these internal strengths and weaknesses in detail here. I will be explaining in detail in the chapter number 4. So controllable activities performed especially well or poorly within the firm and determined relatively to competitors. So these internal strengths and weaknesses might be from management side, because these are the internal functional areas of the any common organization. Any organization must be containing the management side, marketing, finance, accounts, production operations, research and development, or management information systems. So all these are the area of internal management. So again, in chapter number 4, I'll be explaining in detail. These are the internal factors, the financial ratios, performance measures, industry averages, survey data. So these are the internal strengths and weaknesses. Okay, long-term objectives. In chapter number 5, I'll be explaining this in detail. Long-term objectives may be specific results that an organization seeks to achieve in pursuing the basic mission. And long-term means more than 1 year. So what are the long-term objectives are? So we will be explaining in the later chapter number 4. These might be the long-term objective. Provide direction. If you have to ensure the firm's success, then you need to have provide direction. Then long-term objective, they aid in evaluation, they create synergy, they reveal priorities, they focus on coordination, they provide basis for the planning, organizing, evaluating, controlling. So these long-term objectives I'll be explaining in the chapter number 4 and chapter number 5. Strategies. Chapter number 5 is complete chapter for these strategies. What kind of strategies are there? A strategy mean by which long-term objectives are achieved. You want to make any policy or decisions. So what kind of these policies and decisions which are becoming strategy? So these strategies are being listed in the chapter number 5. I will be explaining in the chapter number 5 in detail. Okay. So example, obviously, all these are there. So all these are in detail explanation in the chapter number 5. I'll be explaining there. Annual objectives. Again, in chapter number 5, I'll be explaining. And the last thing is policies. So annual objective will achieve. Again, policies are there. Chapter number 6 and 7 will be containing these detail. Its strategic management process, dynamic and continuous, or formal in larger organization. So this is actually the strategic management process, and this process is being distributed among the chapters of your book. We have not started yet, because from chapter number 2 we'll be starting with the developing vision and mission. Then we will go to the chapter number 3, external audit. Then in the chapter number 4, we will do internal audit. Then the chapter number 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So similarly, chapter number 10 and 11, we will go through in detail one by one. Okay. So there's not need to be very hurry and uh, having a lot of stuff here in in one lecture. And there are some more some kind of issues are there. The benefits of the strategic management. So I've already told you about the strategic management benefit. If we have a strategic management process, if we have complete strategic management plan, it allows for identification, prioritization, and exploitation of the opportunities. It provides an objective view of the management process problems. If you have think if you have focused that management, an objective view is basically the main idea behind the strategic process, because there is an objective for which we are working for. It represents a framework for improved coordination and control of activities. It minimizes the effects of the adverse condition and changes. I've told you earlier that the problem, the hurdles, the obstacles which are coming into the way, we have made the strategic management plan to minimize those obstacles. It allows the major decisions I think all these things have already explained. Benefit again, it continues. So I think all these things are being explained in my lecture. So this is actually this might be the actually the concluding points of today's lecture. And why some firms do not a strategic plan? The question may be like that the whole organization do follow the strategic management. Some firms may not follow the strategic management kind of activities. If they are not following it, it means they are poor, having a poor reward structure. They are firefighting. It means that the organization can be so deeply embroiled in this resolving crisis and firefighting that it reserves no more time for planning. So that may be the reason they don't have a strategic plan, or they think that this is a waste of time. Many of the organization thinks like that. To have a complete strategic plan, it is a waste of time. So this might be the thinking behind that, or it has become too much expensive. Probably the small firms do not have a strategic plan because they find it very expensive. Because people who are making strategic plan, they must be having money, they must be having some kind of remuneration. So this is expensive. Or the laziness, the people not even bothering about having a strategic plan. Or content with the success, particularly a firm is successful, individuals may feel there is no need to plan. That is an again approach. If you are very successful organization, if you keep your success continue, so you think that you need no plan. And or in the last, fear of failure. Sometimes you don't plan because you have a fear that what if the plan become failed. So these kind of fear where you may not have that kind of a strategic plan, uh, or you are overconfident, or you have some kind of a bad experience doing the plan, or you have self-interest rather than the long-term and bigger objectives, or you have a fear of unknown. Some kind of these kind of psyche is also present in the market, in the managers, in the employees. And honest difference of opinion, people may say sincerely believe that plan is wrong, because some kind of sometime you make a plan and your managers or your loyal managers would be saying that the plan would become not worked, because they are very sincere to the organization and they don't let anything uh, that may happen in bad terms in the organization. So they always in the mood of denial. or suspicious employees may not be trust management, so it may be the reasons of not having a plan. So this actually the some little information about the plan. So guys, this is all about today's lecture. So again, there are some couple of minutes have been left with this session, because 40 minutes is again is completing. If you have any kind of a question, you can ask right now regarding today's lecture. And if you don't have a question, so it is very surprising for me. You must be having question, uh, definitely. Ask question and again and again. Ask question regarding anything. Use your chat box, because chat box is made for that. Okay. So